Jack, who was currently cutting a piece of prime rib that felt like heaven on a fork, nodded enthusiastically. "It's wonderful, Mrs. Roper. Thank you so much." "So, Jack," Helen said, leaning in, "how is school going? Any new recipes for Stanley to save us from?" Jack choked slightly on his water. "Oh, school is great. I'm working on my final project, a 5-course meal. Just don't make it French," Stanley grumbled. "My stomach is still recovering from that bacteria you mentioned." The conversation drifted to the puppy, Bernice. Helen showed off a picture of the dog wearing a small hat she had, whereupon Stanley pretended to be annoyed. But Jack noticed him slipping a piece of bread under the table when he thought nobody was looking, a clear sign that the tough landlord had been conquered by fur paws and a wet nose. As the night ended and they walked back to the apartment building, the cool ocean breeze felt refreshing. The drama of the lost rent and the near eviction felt like a distant memory, replaced by the warm glow of a full stomach and the company of friends. Chapter 13, The Culinary Inquisition. The following Monday morning in apartment 201 began with a scent that could only be described as panic-induced burning. Jack was hunched over the stove, his brow glistening with sweat as he attempted to master the art of the hollandaise sauce. "It's breaking. Why is it always breaking?" Jack wailed, whisking so fast his arm looked like a blur in a low-budget action movie. Shauna walked into the kitchen, already dressed in her green florist's apron. "Jack, it's 7 o'clock a.m. Even the squirrels are still sleeping. Why are you attacking that egg yolk? I have the practical exam today." "Shauna," Jack cried, pointing a dripping whisk at her. "Chef Anton is coming. Do you know who Chef Anton is? He's the man who once fired a student for cutting a carrot at a 44-degree angle instead of 45. He has no soul. Johnny, he's just a tall head filled with judgment." Chrissy wandered in, rubbing her eyes. "Does Chef Anton like scarves? Maybe if you gave him one, he'd be nicer." "He doesn't want a scarf, Chrissy. He wants a sauce that doesn't look like curdled misery." Jack slumped into a chair. "I'm going to fail. I'll be kicked out of school. And then I'll have to become a used car salesman like Larry. I'll have to wear polyester every day. Can you imagine me in a leisure suit with wider lapels than my actual shoulders? You'd be very shiny." Chrissy offered helpfully. "We have to help him," Shauna decided, her pragmatic mind already forming a plan. "Jack, go take a shower. I'll clean up this mess. You need to focus. What's the secret to the sauce?" "Constant temperature and a heart of ice," Jack muttered, trudging toward the bathroom. While Jack was at school, Shauna faced her own set of challenges at the flower pot. A woman named Mrs. Cavendish had arrived, demanding a bouquet that expressed the quiet dignity of a dying empire, but with a hint of springtime mischief. "Mrs. Cavendish," Shauna said, her smile straining against her teeth, "I think some lilies with a sprig of wild fern might do the trick." "Ferns? Mischief. Mrs. Cavendish scoffed. Do I look like a woman who enjoys ferns? I want peonies. But peonies that look like they've seen too much. By the time Jana returned home, she was exhausted. She found Jack sitting on the floor of the living room, staring at a single, perfectly poached egg. How did it go? She asked tentatively. Jack looked up. A slow, mischievous grin spread across his face. Chef Anton looked at my sauce. He took a sip. He closed his eyes. I thought he was having a heart attack from the sheer joy of it. And Chrissy asked, leaning over the back of the couch. He said, it was adequate. Adequate. From Anton, that's like getting a standing ovation at the Oscars. Jack jumped up and grabbed them both in a hug. I survived. I'm still a student. And more importantly, I'm still the only man in Santa Monica who can make a sauce that makes a stone-faced Frenchman blink. Chapter 14, The Zen of Stanley Roper. The celebration was short-lived. However, as a new trend swept through the apartment building, yoga, or, as Stanley Roper called it, pretending to be a pretzel for no good reason. Helen had been inspired by a magazine article about inner peace and outer caftans. She had decided that she and Stanley needed to align their chakras, mostly because she was tired of Stanley's chakras being permanently aligned with the television remote. Stanley, get off that chair, Helen demanded, wearing a headband that was far too large for her. We have a guest instructor coming over. His name is Guru Larry. Guru Larry. Stanley groaned. If his name is Larry, he's probably trying to sell me a car. I'm not doing any yoga. Helen, my knees don't bend that way unless there's a dollar bill on the floor. Upstairs, the trio was watching the proceedings through the window. Is that Guru Larry? Jana asked, squinting. Wait, he looks familiar. That's Larry Dallas. Jack laughed. He's wearing a bedsheet and a fake beard. He told me he found a new way to meet women. He calls it transcendental dating. The lesson downstairs was a disaster of epic proportions. Larry the Guru was trying to get Stanley into the downward-facing dog position. Now, Mr. Roper, Larry said in a deep, fake accent, feel the energy of the earth flowing through your polyester. I feel a cramp flowing through my lower back. Stanley barked. And why are you wearing my wife's favorite sheets? I know that pattern. Those are the ones we got for the guest room. The secret was out. Stanley chased Larry around the living room with a rolled-up yoga mat, while Helen tried to salvage her inner peace by eating a bowl of grapes. Later that night, the roommates sat on their balcony, looking out at the neon lights of the pier. The laughter from the Ropers' apartment had died down, replaced by the familiar sound of a television sitcom. You know, Jack said, leaning his chin on his hands, life here is never boring. Boring? Jana smiled. Between the fake tramps, the puppies, the fight nights, and the Guru Larrys, I think we've forgotten what boring even looks like. I like it this way, Chrissy said, looking at the stars. Even if we are flat broke, especially because we're flat broke," Jack corrected, winking at them. "It keeps us on our toes. And as long as we have each other and a lopsided cake every now and then, I think apartment 201 is the richest place in the world." Chapter 15.